in Shama'il at-Tirmidhi. Now, is that deen? Is that something that we as Muslims should try to follow? No. It's not required of us. That was his personal like, and that's what he chose. We're not obliged to follow that. That is not considered a part of the deen. Of course, some people in ignorance, there's a book called Shama'il at-Tirmidhi, translated originally into Urdu, from there into English, which was around. I had a copy of it, where the author, after looking at this hadith, the hadith compiled by Imam at-Tirmidhi, scholar of hadith, describing the sandal of the Prophet ﷺ, he in his commentary went on to explain the benefits from the sandal. If you drew a picture of the sandal, you put it under your pillow, this is going to happen for you, and that is going to happen, and you know, hey, we say, where did this come from? You know, where did this come from? Right? This is where a person has gone off. Right? So, if we take those things, which are personal preferences of the Prophet ﷺ in day-to-day life, which has nothing to do with religion, and we make it a part of the religion, either we are making bid'ah, in that we're offering these other rewards in this way, as people did, or we're making the religion restricted to certain parts of the world. Because if that was from the Sunnah, and this is preferable for us to do, then what are we saying about the practice of this for the Eskimos? Now, if they were to choose a pair of sandals with 2 straps and go out, in the North Pole there, they would get frostbite and have to have their legs amputated. Now, we're saying basically they can't get the reward of the Sunnah. No. The Sunnah, where it has to do with religion, this is something applicable universally. Those things which are personal, you will find them limited to particular areas, particular periods of time.
You didn't use this term, but what is the appropriate meaning of Rafida, and who are they among Shia?
Well, the term Rafida was applied by scholars to those who rejected. Rafida from Raft means to reject. Those were the rejectors, right? Rafida means reject. And there was a disagreement which developed amongst some of the descendants of Ali from Hussein, in which one of the sons went one way and one of the other sons went another way. Those who rejected the way of one of the sons became known as the Rafida. This is what they use it as, one of the terms, because those who rejected and went along with the other line, these end up in practical terms to be those who are known as the Twelver Shiites, the mainstream Shiites. Rafida really applies to the Twelvers, although some people take it to mean the extremists amongst them. But in general, really, it refers to mainstream Shiaism as we know it. Ithna Ashariya is the Twelvers, meaning they follow the 12 Imams.
Brother, please correct me if I'm wrong, that this At-Tahiyatu Lillah that we read in Salah, isn't it the conversation that took place between Allah and the Prophet when he was visiting him by the Salah?
Well, that's news to me, sister. I don't know if you have a hadith on that, to that effect, which is authentic, then we can say that's the case. I have never come across such hadith. Not that I have come across every hadith that there exists, but I don't know it. If you can bring it, then we can look at it. Okay, our sister clarifying that this explanation is from books written in Urdu where there is no evidence for it. Inshallah. Did you ask a question before? Okay, go ahead.
I wanted to ask a question about the Ameen. So, say you were like you said, you were like these little Quran things, and say you were like these little pendants or like the Prophet is that considered like a sin?
Okay, brother's asking if a person wears a pendant which says Allah or Muhammad Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, or it has Ayatul Kursi, we could say even. I have some pendants like that. Ayatul Kursi is etched on it, right? Is this considered shirk? Well, it depends. If you believe that in wearing this, it will protect you, then yes, you have entered into shirk. But if you are wearing it because you feel it is jewelry, it looks attractive and you like it and you're wearing it as an accessory, right? Of course, as a man wearing it around your neck, this is questionable anyway, because then you're starting to look like women, right? That's another issue, right? Men wearing chains and stuff like this. This is considered imitation of the dress of females. But for a woman wearing these things, if she's not believing that this is going to protect her in any way, then it's not considered to be an aspect of shirk. Alaikum salam wa barakatuh. Okay, I didn't say don't raise your hands when making dua. Please get this clear, right? I didn't say that. I'm saying don't make it a regular practice. What I'm saying is sometimes you may raise your hands while making dua, and other times you make your dua without raising your hands. This is the point. Let us not feel that the only way to make dua is you must raise your hands. This is not the case. You can make dua without raising your hands. Right? So this is what I'm saying. The making of dua also during the time of sujood. This is the time Prophet ﷺ recommended this, or times when duas are accepted. One may do so in the salah at that point also.
You know, I come from a community where the culture, the dominant culture, they revere their dead, you know. And so at the end of the salah, they ask the imam to say something, and then he says something like, you know, in Arabic, and everybody prepares it. I mean, and then he says something else, which is I mean. Is this okay?
The idea after prayer, you know, to ask people to pray for the dead. Somebody has died, they're asking to pray for the dead. The idea of prayer for the dead is in by itself is okay. One may do so. You know, asking Allah's forgiveness for this person who has died, etc. But where it becomes a ritual, yarhamukallah, where it becomes a ritual, you know, after prayers regularly people are asking and this is just a standard practice, then we have now innovation here. We have a kind of innovation.
So it's okay to do it Saturday?
On occasion, if somebody asks, you know, the imam, it's just like asking somebody to pray for you, you know, and they make a dua, and when they finish making the dua, you say, Ameen, for example. You know, may Allah, Ameen meaning, may Allah accept it. Pardon? Okay. The evil of what Allah has created. Now, when Allah created the fish spine, you know, in the fish it's got a backbone with these like spines on it, right? That backbone with the spines in the fish was a good thing. It kept the fish's body together so he could swim in the water, etc. Now, if that spine, any of the pieces of that spine, we call it a fish bone, if that sticks in your throat, that's an evil thing. Relative to yourself, that becomes an evil thing. So there's evil coming out of what Allah has created in that context. You understand? So we're not saying Allah created this to harm you, but harm may come out of it. Or rain. Rain is a good thing. But sometimes rain becomes a terrible thing. Right? So there's this harm which comes out of rain, but is rain in and of itself evil? No. Yeah, okay, this is another example of, in our lives, the issue of evil with good intent is that of the dentist injecting in your gums Novocaine or whatever. It is something painful. The needle is so long, you can feel it tickling your toes. Right? Nobody likes the dentist needle. But we subject ourselves to it on a regular basis to prevent greater harm, which is the rotting of our teeth and the root canals and everything else. So that evil, what appears to us external of that circumstance to be something evil, is in fact something good for us. It may be a relative thing, for example, where I remember one occasion seeing a picture in the newspaper, I cut it out, where they had this Egyptian brother, and it had on one side his sister was kissing him on one cheek, and his father was kissing him on the other cheek. And he had this huge smile from ear to ear, his thumbs were up like this. And I read the caption, what was it? What had happened was, he was supposed to catch a particular flight, the Gulf Air flight, last year, which was going to Bahrain. Now this air flight crashed in the sea. When he had gone to the airport to catch his flight, he was refused the right to go on that flight because he was missing a stamp on his passport. And in Egypt, you have to have 1,000 stamps before you can do anything, right? Yeah, so many people have to stamp. So he had gotten all his stamps except for one stamp. And there he was at the airport, one stamp missing, they wouldn't allow him. Of course, his whole world was falling apart around him because he was a teacher. It was a flight of teachers. They were going back, the beginning of the new term, he had to go back and teach. So to come back late, maybe they will fire him, they're going to take off pay or whatever. He was terrible. His world crashed around him. He was begging, screaming, please. No, flight took off. Then he heard the flight crashed. And everybody on board died. So there he was in the newspaper the next day, big smile on his face, That which he thought was such a terrible calamity the day before was now good fortune for him. So in that relative sense, though it was evil, in the sense of what happened to the other people, for that individual, it was